So now we are going to be going over basic defence and evasion. First one we're going to be going over is slipping. We're going to slip from our left or to our right, but first I'm going to throw my jab and Pamorn is going to slip to his right hand side. Notice he's avoided the punch and he's not slipped too far down. He's just avoided the size of my pad, or if we were in a fight situation or sparring, he's avoided the size of my glove, and then if he wanted to, he could come back with shots. That's what we're looking for when we are slipping. And to the other side. So I'm going to throw my cross. It is slightly different to the previous slip. He has corkscrewed his hips a little bit. He's not just dropped the weight on the front of his knee. His hips have turned, and now once again he's in place for the counter strike. So one common mistake that we see is not driving your shoulder towards your toe. So if you look at Pamorn, he is just breaking at his hips instead of when he's slipping, driving his shoulder and putting the weight over his front knee. And if he slips the other hand side, he's done the same thing and corkscrewed his hips a little bit. So now we are moving on to rolling. So if somebody was to throw a hook, we want to avoid that punch by rolling underneath. I like to describe it as a horseshoe or the letter U. So we're going down and coming back up. So if I was to throw my left hook from here, one's going to roll under, bending at the knees, then coming up. If I was to go the other side, same thing, he's going to bend at the knees, make sure he's looking straight forward, hands are up nice and high, and he's protecting himself. One more time, so he's going to go under, bend at the knees, looking straight forward, and once again, underneath, exactly the same as before. So one common mistake that we see when rolling is breaking at the hips. So if Pamorn was to break at the hips, he's going to be in danger for catching an uppercut to the face. So what we want to see is bending at the knees and creating that horseshoe shape or the letter U. So we're going to do it wrong one more time. So he's breaking at the hips, he's looking at the floor, he can't see where his opponent or partner is. And now if we go over it properly one more time, drawing the letter U or the horse shape, bending at the knees, his hands protecting his face, and there we go, perfect. The next move we are going to go over is the pull back or the lean back. So there's two variations to this. What we're going to go over first is stepping out while the punch comes towards you. So if I was to put my jab out towards Pamorn, he is stepping out the way. So he's driving off his front foot. On the ball of his foot, he's pushing off to avoid the punch. One more time, as my hand comes out, he's avoiding the punch by pushing on his front foot. Now sometimes we don't actually have to do that. We don't have to push off the front foot. We can just simply lean back and put our weight onto the back foot and then return with a counter shot. So the feet are going to stay where they are, his trunk is moving out of the way, and then there is a counter shot there. So one more time, I'm throwing the jab out, his trunk's moving, his feet are staying still, and if he was to go back one more time, there would be a counter shot available. So now we're going to go over defending the body shots. So there's a few ways to do this. You can defend the hooks or you can defend the straights, but for now we're going to go over the straight punches. So first thing we're going to go over is if I was to throw a jab to the body, Pamorn, he's going to drive his elbow across the body while keeping his hand on his chin. Same thing, if I was to throw the cross, as I come through, the elbow is being driven across the body and deflecting my punch to the side. So the jab drives the elbow across while keeping his hands up, and if I was to throw the cross again, he's driving that elbow, deflecting the punch away from his body. Now we're going to go into the hooks, so a body grip. So if I was to come down and I wanted to throw a left rip at his body, from here I'm going to come down. Now, if Pamorn was to stand back up, there is a gap between his elbow and his hip. We want to close the gap. So while keeping his hand up, I go to the body, he closes the gap between the elbow and his hip, and now he's protected from the body shot. And it's going to be the same on the other side. So if I was to throw the right rip or the right body shot at Pamorn, as he goes down, he's closing the gap, his hands are protected, and his elbow is closing the gap between his hip. Two common mistakes that we see when defending body shots is mostly dropping the hands. So when our hands are up, we should keep them up and then move our elbows, but a lot of people tend to bring them down. So if I was to throw a jab at Pamorn's body, he has dropped his hands. A very easy thing for me to do would fake the body shot. So if I fake the body shot and he's came down, I could then come over the top and he'd be vulnerable for a counter strike. So the correct way would be driving the elbow across, and if I was to throw the cross, once again, driving the elbow across. Another common mistake that we see is the same thing, but when ripping or a body shot is dropping the hand to close the gap. So he's closing the gap, but once again he's vulnerable. So if I was to come here and fake a little bit, as we come down, I've faked and I've come over the top of the left hook. Same the other side, so his hands are down, he's vulnerable for the shot. What we want is elbows tucked in. If I come the other side, it's tucked in. We want to stay tight all the time with our hands up and protect ourselves. So that there is our basic boxing defence. It's good to learn on the pads and on the bags, but when you start sparring, it's absolutely essential that you get these correct so you don't put yourself in danger. So remember, hands up all the time, elbows in, slipping, rolling, pulling back, always defending yourself correctly.